Welcome to the Actors Studio. Today we are here with English actor great Robert Pattinson. Robert Pattinson is known for playing the complicated role of Edward Cullen in the Twilight Saga. Edward Cullen is known for his long stares and lack of emotion as a vampire. How would you describe your technique or strategy for playing Edward Cullen?
It's kind of a mixture of looking like slightly constipated and stoned. It's quite easy to achieve.
That's amazing, Robert. Well, join us again next week when we discuss with Tommy Wiseau from The Room why it is that he hit Lisa.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not.
Welcome to another episode of Good Times and Bad Movies. I'm Paul Ireland. Joining me as always is my lovely co-host, Team Jacob Morrison. How are you, sir?
I'm great, Paul. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Tim. I'm really excited, actually, because, a few episodes ago, we sat down and we watched the timeless classic love tale, Twilight. And since then, we've actually gotten a few requests to keep going with the saga here. So we're actually back at it again. And this week, we're watching the second installment in this franchise, 2009's Twilight New Moon from Summit Entertainment.
Yes, we are. We're tackling the second one. Upon looking into this, I only realized recently that there's actually 5 of these. I thought there was 4.
Yeah, I kept getting confused because I was watching this on Netflix, and then I kept trying to watch the movie and go over stuff that I was confused on. But then I kept putting on, I think it's Eclipse, and then there was like stuff going on in this movie that what is this going on? And so, I don't know. All these movies seem the same to me. I'm really confused. But, this one actually to me wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I found this one a little bit more entertaining to watch just because more things happened. And there was more characters. It's not just Bella and Edward this time being weird. We throw a few more characters into the mix that are really weird.
Since this is the second installment in the whole Twilight saga, we should give you guys a bit of a synopsis on Twilight New Moon. Still reeling from the departure of Edward Cullen, a heartbroken Bella Swan finds comfort in her friendship with werewolf Jacob Black.
So, one of the reasons why I was confused as to which movie I was selecting as well is because when I read that synopsis on Netflix, I thought, well, they didn't break up in the first movie.
Also, there's no werewolves in this movie. Did we see werewolves in the first movie?
No. Right? They give this movie away in the synopsis. At least Netflix does. I don't know.
Well, they did that in the first one, if you remember. If we go back in our Wayback Machine, when we first discovered this movie, we established that. Yeah, like they kind of break it down to you that Edward is a vampire. And in this one, they're like, oh yeah, just Jacob's a werewolf. And if you didn't read the books, and you just watch the movies, you would be like, wait, what's going on?
Just a quick catch up from the first movie. When we left off after Twilight #1, Edward and Bella were happy partners in high school. And Bella really wanted to become a vampire. And Edward was like, no way.
If you remember at the ending of the last movie, we saw Edward and Bella dancing at the prom, having a good time, even though, Bella's all upset that Edward's not going to make into a vampire. And as it panned out, we noticed that there was a vampire, this girl, Victoria, who was watching them from the window. And Victoria is, I guess she was part of a rival group of vampires in the area, and they were kind of, I guess they were, obviously they were the bad guys in a movie full of vampires, but they had a feud with the Cullens.
Yeah, because when they were out playing baseball, one of them caught the scent of Bella, and he kind of went crazy, and he went into just a complete obsession with wanting Bella's blood. Long story short, the Cullen family ripped off his head after he bit Bella, and Edward sucked out the venom, I think, from Bella before she could turn into a vampire. I'm pretty sure that's how it ended.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that. That was hilarious. That was a great scene.
Anyways, his wife is still alive, and that's who Victoria is. She's the evil vampire in this movie.
That's right. So there is a bad vampire who is on the stock still, looking to settle the score with Bella and Edward. So I think with all that established, then maybe we should just jump right into this. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, let's bite the neck of this movie. So this movie starts out with the title of the movie on the screen, Twilight New Moon. And we're seeing a little bit of, it's a half a moon?
I think it's a moon going to and maybe it's a full cycle of a moon, so it becomes the new moon.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like if we're seeing half the moon, I don't feel like that's a new moon, is it? But I don't know. Maybe there's a whole different thing here that I don't know about.
The whole moon is being covered right now. It's going through the phases, right? Like it's gradually disappearing. So it goes, like it goes from like a full moon to like whatever it is, like a half moon to like a crescent moon or whatever. There's like phases of the moon. It's going through phases, and then it becomes the new moon.
Fair enough. We just gave that title a lot more thought than the people that worked on this movie did. Because aside from this being new moon, and, we've already mentioned that there's werewolves in this, I don't think it really has much of a relevance. So, right after that, we're sent to broad daylight, looking at the sky, and we pan down towards a bunch of people dressed like the handmaids in The Handmaid's Tale. They're all just dressed in red, and they're yelling and shouting. We don't know what they're doing. It looks like they're in Westeros. I'm going to say maybe it's Rome or something. And Bella's running, and then out of nowhere, she is now running out of a bush into a field. I think it's the field where her and Edward used to like to lay down and stare at each other. So she's in this field, and at the other end of this flower field, she sees this old lady whom she assumes to be her grandma. I'm going to say she hasn't seen her grandmother in a while, that she would question this or something. I don't know. But lurking from behind, just like in the first movie, Edward is standing in the bushes staring at her. Now, she tells Edward not to come out because she will see him, referring to her grandmother. Edward walks out anyways, and they go and stand in front of her grandmother. And then we kind of realize that it's a mirror image. Bella is actually seeing herself in the future. But Edward is still looking perfectly young because he's a vampire. He's already 109 years old at this point. So in another 60 or 70 years, he's probably going to still look the same, I guess. I don't know how vampires age in this movie.
They don't age at all, right? Very slowly, I think. I don't think they age at all in this. You're just ageless. You just sparkle and you just stay Luke Perry forever. That's how this whole world works. It's just so ridiculous. Come on. Again, it's a sparkly vampire. It's a and it's the daytime. And it's in a field. This is, I like, the monsters in this movie have just name-only relation to the actual mythos that they're built on.
One little gripe I have about the sparkle, I don't think it's a good idea anyways. However, I think that they should have really leaned into it more, because he doesn't sparkle that much. Like, I would like to see sparkles that are similar, like the inside of like a quartz rock or something like that, like, or maybe like diamonds or something. Now, he just looks like someone just tossed some glitter on him. He's not very sparkly at all.
He doesn't, yeah, I know what you're saying. Maybe that'd be crazy if he was like a kaleidoscope or something like that, or it was just diamonds. That would be insane.
Yeah, and it's like it's really bright to look at him or something, right?
Yeah, I still think it's just goofy, and I would have just nixed this whole thing. I would have been like, just lose it. Pretend it never happened. Can we just do that? I don't think did anybody, if you're listening to this and you liked this movie, did you enjoy the sparkles? Please let me know. Get at us, because I'm really, really curious to know if someone actually enjoyed the sparkles. Because I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, why or why not? So even though it's her birthday, Bella is still miserable because she now has the fear of getting old. She's only 18, but she's afraid of getting old now, and she's kind of snobby with her friends. Like her dad bought her this this set of frames so that she could like make a scrapbook and stuff, And so he's like, your mother wants to see pictures of your friends and things. And she's like, okay. And she tells her friend, she's like, hey, can you guys get some pictures? My mom wants to see my friends. It's like, man, she is just like one of the most like just negative people to be around. You can't, like, it's such a backhanded compliment on your graduating year. Like, ask your friends for a picture for your mother, not because you like them or anything.
Yeah, she's a weirdo. You know what's funny about that whole scene though was like, in the first movie, remember how like her mom just went away with John Cena and abandoned her halfway through the school year? And then her dad sort of begrudgingly took her in. And it kind of seemed like, oh, maybe there's a little bit of redemption here. And in this movie, he goes out and he buys her a camera. Okay, so this guy spent a couple $100 on this camera. Her mom bought her the scrapbook. Her mom spent $40 at Walmart. This dad spent $200 and bought her a camera. And she was like, hey, okay, yeah, here's a crappy scrapbook for you. Here you go.
Maybe her new husband's Little League team isn't doing that well.
Doesn't sound like it. You know, who would have thought being a Little League coach didn't pay a lot of money? I don't know. We cut to school. And Bella is there with her friends so this whole thing confused me. How old are they? I guess I screwed up because I thought she was already 18 in this movie, but it turns out she is maybe turning 18 in this movie, maybe 19.
This movie starts out with her birthday. It's her birthday today on where the movie is in the present time.
How old was she last time? She was in grade 10 or 11?
Well, I'm assuming she was 17. Because she went to prom. She went to prom last year, so this is her last year. It's her graduating year.
So I'm just saying, this guy how long has, because Edward's been in the school for a while, or he's not been in school I guess he has been in the school for a while, right? And he's been hanging out. So what grade did Edward enter in the school? Did he enter in grade 11? Because I wouldn't buy anything. Grade 11, you could almost buy with this guy. Grade 12, I kind of buy, but I don't buy, obviously, Robert Pattinson being 18 in this movie. So I'm just saying, what grade did he show up in this world?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to say that they probably have been there for 5 years. It seems like they just stick around for a few years until someone notices that they don't age, and then they're like, gotta go.
He can't be there for 5 years. He's in grade 12 now. So he showed up in grade 7 looking like this.
There is a very big difference. You're right. Yeah, I see what you mean.
That's what I'm trying to say. This is insane. What grade is this man in? And how long has he been to the school? Did he just show up 3 months before Bella did? That's the only thing I can think of. It doesn't make any sense.
No, that's a good observation. I don't know.
He's not showing up at grade 10. He's not showing up at grade 9. This man you cannot buy that. I can barely buy grade 11. So I don't understand that. Okay, first of all, but she's in grade 12, and he's allegedly in grade 12 too. And then obviously she's out front of the school taking pictures with her friends and stuff, and you're reintroduced to all the gang that you kind of saw for 3 seconds in the first movie, and they're sort of passively her friends in this movie as well too. And our boy Old Sparkles shows up here, and I just gotta say real quick, everybody in this parking lot is parked normally, like a normal person. Okay, this guy Edward shows up, and he just parks across 3 parking spaces, just like a total dick.
That's because this is the car commercial scene. That's a Volvo.
You're right. It's like a music video for Volvo, because he's just coming out and there's a wind on him and he's blowing.
There actually were Volvo commercials, Volvo Twilight commercials that played on TV.
Really?
Yes. This isn't a coincidence. This is a product placement right there. That's why it's parked very adjacent. He's walking away from it towards the screen in slow motion.
I would have been so pissed if I show up to school and there's no parking spaces because this dick parked his Volvo across 3 spaces. I would be like, oh, that's the brand that dickheads drive, is Volvo. And then also too, I would actually kind of box him in, because what are you gonna do now? You're screwed. You can't, you know what I mean? You can't go back and forth and wiggle your way to that one. But an Austin Powers 70 point turn.
Okay, I gotta ask one question right quick. Is Jacob? That's a wig, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay.
That's what I'm guessing so. Because in the first movie, Jacob's hair kind of looked like a wig. In this movie, it looks like a slightly better wig. It looks still Meatloaf-esque, but it's sort of passable. It's like he kind of grew his hair and they put some extensions in it.
Well, I'm going to go with the assumption that it's fake. So Jacob here with his fake hair comes along to say happy birthday to Bella. And he says happy birthday, and they're just having some small talk. While Edward is just having a really awkward stare over by the bushes again. Just staring at them. Or actually, sorry, he's standing by his car. But yeah, it's still just really awkward. He looks sad. This guy never looks happy.
Now, I don't know what his problem is. It looks like he's trying to hold in a fart or something. It's so weird because he's like, I'll give you some space. And then his space is like 5 steps back. He just stands beside another car in earshot. Not even giving them any privacy. Just doing his own thing. Standing there like he's in a Gap commercial.
So now we're in class and they're watching Romeo and Juliet. And Edward has some interesting thoughts about Romeo. and Juliet, he expresses to Bella that he is envious of the suicide of Romeo. So looking at it from a vampire's point of view, it's like, what are you talking about? You're talking about how you love your girl. You have a girl that's alive in front of you in your present day. But he's jealous that he can't just go and kill himself.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, he could kill himself, right? Like, vampires can't die in this world. They have to cut their heads off and burn them. So, like, you can't do something, man. You couldn't just piss off the wrong person. You know, like, there's something you can do to kill yourself. I feel like he's just not committed hard enough. I don't want to encourage that, but, like, you know, this.
Yeah. I don't want to give this vampire any methods that he's not aware of. But
in this hypothetical vampire world, this man could totally kill himself if he was committed to it, if he wanted to.
Well, it's interesting because right after that, he tells Bella how he could kill himself. So Edward could go to the Volturi to kill himself. And basically, the Volturi are this group of, I guess, vampire governors, if you will.
It's like a council of vampires.
It's the vampire council that runs the law of the vampire world. And I guess the laws, as far as we can tell, are just don't tell anybody that you're a vampire. And there's like a certain rule about killing people. I don't think you're supposed to or something.
You're not supposed to make kills obvious or something. Like, you can't draw attention to yourself, and you're not supposed to, like, let humans know of your existence. I think those are basically what you're supposed to do, right? So this head guy who is the leader of the Volturi, this is so weird. I guess his name is Aro. This guy, to me, when I saw him, I burst out laughing because it looked like Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. He was dressed up in Victorian dress.
I thought he looked a lot like the Black Adder. Just a lot more pale from, the old Mr. Bean. Not Mr. Bean, but Rowan Atkinson.
Yeah, so if Edward is to break any of these rules, these vampires will basically sentence him to die, and they can kill him. I guess that's sort of the understanding of this whole thing.
They would rip his head off.
Yeah, and I don't understand why he can't just kill himself. He's, like, breaking some sort of code or something, or... Like, you're already, like, we've already established that you're damned to hell at the end of this. So, I mean, this is kind of just like a zero-sum game at this point. You just do what's best for you, right?
You would think so. I don't know.
He's been around for like 109 years. You think he would have thought about this for more than 2 seconds?
I was just going to say that. I just couldn't think of a nice way to say it. I was like, you've had 109 years to figure out how to kill yourself and you still don't have a clue.
I mean, presumably he enjoyed himself for some of it, right?
Well, now he loves Bella. Edward is just staying alive for Bella. And by the end of school, his sister Alice gives Bella a sweater for her birthday gift and invites Bella to come to the family's home tonight for a dinner, which is funny because none of them eat any food. But Bella goes anyways. While she's there, Bella makes some small talk, but it's all really boring, so I'm not going to bother repeating any of it. But the main thing is, when she's opening a card or a gift from one of the family members, she receives a paper cut. And that sends one of the younger vampires, by younger, I don't know, he might be 75 years old for all I know, but he appears to be one of the younger ones in the family. He sends him into a crazy state of mind, and he just, like, he leaps like a cheetah across the room to attack Bella. And, by the way, he leaps like, it looks like 15 feet. And Edward shoves Bella across the room, smashing into like this shelving unit, and then smashes Jasper away, and where he like falls into a piano and it breaks and stuff. And I thought, did he really need to send Bella flying into the wall with like slamming on the shelves? Was that necessary? Couldn't you have just blocked her?
That's exactly what I thought, man. Because I'm like, wait a second. You just blocked this guy with your hand? Why didn't you just do that? Why did you need to just rifle her back 12 feet? She broke like a table. And she sliced her arm up. She was bleeding worse off her arm going through this table than the stupid paper cut. He made it worse. What is he doing? This man's an idiot. This is you're relying on? And he's just standing there staring all mopey like a stupid little emo vampire. And he's all, I love that. In this, again, I just want to note like how pale this guy is and how red his lips are. It is so funny to look at. It is so funny.
I know. It's so distracting. It's funny to even consider that they get by hiding the fact that they're vampires in this town. As if nobody, like, I wouldn't necessarily say that they're vampires, but I'd be like, what is up with them?
Yes. Are you? I would just like, can I check in on your health? Are you okay? Are you getting enough sun or vegetables, water? You see?
And their father is a doctor.
Yes. Like you're just, yeah, like it's crazy. I don't understand any of this. And like, I'm sorry, but you, what grade are you in? You're in grade 10? How long have you been in this grade for? Do you just keep failing?
Maybe no one's noticing because there's been a lot of what people think might be bear attacks going on.
After they subdue this crazed out vampire, Dr. Acula here is attending to her wounds. And she's kind of complaining to Carlisle that, hey, like Edward, he won't make me a vampire. And he explains to her that their souls are damned. Once you become a vampire, that's it. Your soul is damned to hell once you die, I guess. So that's why he doesn't want to turn her into a vampire. And she says, for whatever reason, she says, I don't believe you. Okay. This is an 18-year-old girl, a girl who just turned 18 this morning, allegedly in this world. Okay. Just learned about the existence of vampires last year and apparently werewolves somewhere in between there. And she thinks that she knows more than two people who have collectively lived, I'm guessing, a couple 100 years, 300 years. She knows more about vampires than them because she read a book at a store. Like, what is wrong with this girl?
Well,
What? Why?
I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. That's hilarious. I don't know why Bella thinks that she knows so much about anything, to be honest.
I really don't know why this girl, I mean, other than I don't know. It's supposed to be from her perspective, I guess. I just think, like, why would anybody want to be this character? She sucks.
So Edward brings her home, and again, she's trying to get Edward to turn her into a vampire because she says she's tired of living her regular life and she doesn't want to get old. So Edward says, no, I'm not doing that. And then he tells her that he'll always love her, though, no matter what. And she says the same thing. They kiss. And this kiss, to me, is really bizarre because they barely lock lips for a second. And then, I don't know how else to say it, Edward looks like he just prematurely ejaculated in his pants. and he, like, starts, because he's, like, shuddering and, like, gasping. And then they have an awkward moment. But I guess, you know, we're to believe that it's because he can't hold himself back from wanting to eat her or something.
Something like that, I guess. Yeah, that I guess, yeah, he's doesn't want to give in to his animalistic urges, and he's just gonna, you know, bite her, I guess, if he kisses her more than for half a second because she's so interesting. So she goes inside and it's all mopey, and she kind of prints out a photo and folds it in half and sticks it on the side of her little computer there and just stares at it for a bit, and that's about it.
So the next day in school, Bella notices that Edward is not there. He's not present at school. And I don't know why at this point they don't just call each other, because like, I'm sure they have phones here in Forks. But I guess it seems as though maybe a day or two goes by and she wonders where he is. And then one day when she gets home, he is waiting for her, like, behind her house. And he's like, hey, let's go for a walk in the woods. So they go deep into the forest. Why? I don't know. I don't know why they had to go in the woods for this. But anyways, he takes her to a dense part of the woods and tells her that we need to leave. Edward here has zero tact. So Bella says, okay, I need to do something about my father first. And he's like, no, sorry, I didn't mean you. I have to leave. We as in my family, not you. She asks why, and he says because people are starting to notice that Jasper isn't aging. So they got to move on.
It's crazy, though, that they just noticed that one person hasn't aged. Not like the entire group of these people haven't aged ever. And somehow they all started in like grade 8 or something. We don't really know, or grade 10. All of these people. And none of them. What?
They look like the Addams Family. Little to no rhyme or reason with Edward here. He just is like, yeah, it's over. Everything that we've established in the previous 25 minutes of how much they love each other is gone. So, and he doesn't like even take her out of the woods. He just like vanishes like Batman.
Technically, he is Batman, Tim. That's right.
So Bella, alone by herself, is just a mess. She's very sad. And, you know, when you're in the woods and you're really sad, you just find a bush to crawl under and you pass out. That's what Bella does. So it seems as though she's passed out for a little while, and then we see some arms come along and pick her up. And then later on, we cut to the community area of town where her father has rounded up a few other people to help look for Bella because she's been gone for a while. And everybody has noticed that the Collins have vanished from town. So he's kind of scared that maybe Edward might have done something with her. But luckily for him, this man named Sam comes walking out of the woods holding Bella. He has no shirt. He looks like he's in a pair of gym pants. And he is just walking out of the woods, carrying Bella passed out, presents Bella to her father. He says, "Oh, thanks, Sam." And he's like, "No problem. See you later." No questions.
Yeah, like, wouldn't you be like, what happened here? Was there some crazy bush party? Is that what's going on here, guys? Hey, like, I think we're gonna see, like, it's like there's no surprise like on who's on what team in this movie. You're gonna find out. This is literally shirts versus skins. That's this entire series. You could sum that up as at least in cinematically, that's what's going on here. Because we're gonna see there's just everybody who Jacob hangs around with wears no shirt, and for most of the movie, Jacob wears no shirt. There's like 3 scenes at the start here where he's gonna be wearing a shirt, and for the rest of the movie, he's not. He's shirtless.
Yeah, well, there's a few moments where we see him where they go to a movie here soon, and he does have a shirt on for the movie. But aside from that, the shirt is gone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's just like, what is going on here? I guess it's for the preteens or something, or the teens.
It is, but I will say there is something odd about, because, okay, I find it just a little bit odd because Jacob in this movie is portrayed as being 16 years old. I know that Taylor Lautner is older than 16 when he's playing this, but it is odd for this movie to portray him as a 16-year-old and have him, I don't know, I guess. No,
you're right. That's creepy. He's still a young teenager. He's not really an adult. That's like, what are you doing sexualizing this kid? He's 16. What's going on? Come on.
Because like Bella's like touching his abs and stuff later on. It's a little much for like someone who's playing a teenager in high school.
This is a risque teen movie.
It is. So during this entire time that we've been talking about that, we've just seen Bella on screen crying and screaming. Literally. Laying in bed, crying and screaming.
I love that one. They just cut to her because she's like at one point sitting in a chair and the camera's just kind of going around her and she's just staring out at the street like a crazy cat lady in her jammies or whatever. And then, yeah, you're right. They just cut to like intermittent shots of her crying on her bed and she's screaming and there's just a cut. It'll just be her laying on the bed or sitting in the chair, and then all of a sudden, like, for 3 seconds, and then it cuts back to like her just hanging out, and then she's throwing stuff, and her dad's downstairs trying to like make food or whatever, and he's listening to this nonsense. And she just, could you imagine this if your kid was upstairs, just blowing a gasket like that? I would be like, dude, you need to go out and go for a bike ride, or go to the gym, or go throw a ball at something, or you need to just go out right now and do something else. You cannot be here screaming like a psychopath. Honest to God, this is insane what you were doing right now.
Yeah, so her friend, one of Bella's friends here, whom she really doesn't seem to like, she decides to go shopping with her, and they go shopping downtown at night. They don't appear to have bought anything at all, and as they're like standing outside, I guess contemplating what they're going to do next, where they're going, they're being catcalled by this group of guys. And Bella has a flashback of the guys that were going to attack her in the first movie. We're kind of seeing now that Edward is gone, that Bella here is getting is becoming kind of an adrenaline junkie. She wants to do risky things. So she approaches the guy on the motorcycle who is catcalling her. And as she's approaching him, Edward pops on the screen, almost in like the same way Obi-Wan Kenobi would appear to Luke after he died in the Star Wars franchise movies. And he's like, "Don't do anything reckless." and she stops for a second because she's like, "Why am I having visions?" But yeah, so Edward is basically Obi-Wan Kenobi now.
Well, the whole reason he's showing up here too is because before he left, he made Bella swear to him that she was not going to do anything reckless. And like the next day, she is going to walk around and find a group of guys that look like the same dudes that almost sexually assaulted her the first time. Okay. And she's just going to go hang out with these guys and jump on one of their motorcycles and start driving around like an idiot now.
again, this is why I say, like, Bella is not a very good friend. She just leaves her friend there, like, on the street while she goes joyriding with this guy.
Yeah, could you imagine that your friend who never wants to hang out, never calls you to go shopping, calls you up and's like, "Hi, I want to go shopping," and then they're like, "Okay, let's go shopping," and then like you walk around with them for a bit, and they literally just stop at a street corner and walk away from you without saying anything, and jump on some random person's motorcycle without a helmet, and just drive away. This guy's like just flying down the road. And she has sort of like a ghost premonition of Edward, but it's like a puff of smoke or something. And she screams this guy to stop. And he just kind of goes to this like crazy bike slide. And she just gets off the bike and walks away from him. And then shows up again to her friend, who's just still standing there on the street corner waiting for her. I think the synapses in my brain aren't firing correctly, trying to put all of this together as far as like, what the hell why? What is going on?
Bella's not a very likable person.
No, this is crazy. But I think the whole point is she's trying to get back at Edward or something by almost killing herself, or is she trying to hope that he's going to show up? He's like actually kind of secretly watching her.
Yeah, and these visions come through the rest of the movie where Edward is just like appearing to her, and they don't really explain it. Anyways, after all of that, her dad again says, "Enough is enough, Bella. You need to do something." So she decides to go and hang out with Taylor Lautner. Bella managed to find some scrapped dirt bikes from a salvage yard. So she takes them to Taylor Lautner to see if he will fix them. And Jacob says yes, because he just wants to hang out with Bella. And Bella knows that he just wants to hang out with her. So we spend like the next half hour of them kind of just joking around and getting close while they're fixing these bikes. And I kind of feel bad for Jacob a little bit, because like she's clearly just using him.
Yes. Okay. I was thinking this too, right? Like this kid actually, he gets done dirty in this movie. As far as I'm seeing, we don't know the whole, like, you know, just coming from just seeing these first two movies, not knowing anything about the rest of this saga. I don't know anything. We're going to leave it as a surprise as we go here. But it looks like honestly, this movie, Bella is a terrible person to Jacob. She just totally uses this guy. And this kid's like 16, apparently. Okay. And she's 18, so she knows better. At least 2 years knows better than this kid to manipulate this kid. Because like your vampire boyfriend just dumped you, and now your first response is, well, first of all, to jump on a motorcycle, and apparently you like that, but you didn't like the creepy guy. So you're like, oh, let me just go hang out with this guy who's not creepy and get him to make me a motorcycle, so I can hurt myself on it.
Like that's the whole point of it. The only reason she hangs out with Jacob is because she wants Jacob to make her a motorcycle so that she can like go really fast and be reckless. And she does, and she hurts herself.
You know, Bella's at school now the next day, and this other kid comes up to her, and he's like, hey, you're not, like, dating, what's his face, right? So do you want to go on a date? And she's like, oh, like, yeah, we can go to the movies. Let's go to the movies. And this guy kind of is standing out front of the theater, and Jacob shows up. And he's like, hey, Jacob, what are you doing? And Jacob's like, oh, I'm going to go see a movie with Bella. And he's like, I'm going to go see a movie with Bella. And Bella's like, hey, I'm going to see a movie with both you guys.
The blonde hair guy gets like so grossed out by this face punch movie that he has to run out of the theater and vomit. And then we cut to the end of the movie that they're watching, and we're out in the lobby. And Jacob is kind of like, they're getting closer to each other, and they were holding hands for a second. But then Bella basically says, look, you can't get close to me right now. Like, I need space. I need you as a friend, but you know, I don't want to break your heart and all this kind of stuff. And he tells her that he's never going to break her heart. And then the guy whom idea was to even go to the movie, he's done being sick, and he comes out of the theater and he's like, sorry, you guys, I got sick. Must have been like the food or something, trying to save face. And then Jacob goes from like 0 to 100 and like pissed off. He just gets like right in his face, and he's like, what, you think you need to go to the hospital? Huh? You want me to put you in the hospital? Are you that sick? And they're all like, what the hell's your problem? And he's like, I don't know. I'm really hot. He decides that he has to go, and he's just really angry. After that, a few days go by, and Jacob hasn't been in school for a few days. So I guess the person that he lives with, the older man, is at her house talking to her father, And she's like, hey, where's Jacob been? He's like, oh, Jacob has mono. He's sick. And Bella doesn't believe this because she thinks she knows everything anyways. And she decides to go and visit Jacob.
It is raining hard out here. It's coming down. It's that movie rain that is just like, it's hitting you. They're like 2-pound droplets. You know what I mean? Like you're getting hit. You're like, that's big rain. That's what's going on here. Big rain. And this guy is just walking around in this field here with no shirt on and shorts. Like, what is going on here? And also, too, like, I don't buy this kid is 16. He's shredded. This dude is shredded. He's like 22. There's no way this kid is 16.
No, he's definitely not 16 years old. And what is he doing in the yard with no shirt on in this pouring rain? It makes no sense whatsoever. But they meet in the middle of his backyard. And reluctantly or something, he tells Bella that they can't hang out anymore.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's just like, this whole thing is weird, though, because it seems like there's a romantic interest because she's like, you know, I want to hang out with you and all this stuff. And he's like, no, I'm not good for you. And she's like, oh, it's not you, it's me. And he's like, yeah, it's like, it's me, man. Like, I'm the problem. This whole thing seems like this is supposed to be like a romantic thing. And I'm really confused here because, like, if she doesn't have really any interest in him, why is she coming around hanging out with this guy all the time?
I have no idea. I don't understand why she's so emotionally attached to him. She only used him to get a dirt bike.
That's it. That's all she did. A dirt bike and a free movie. That's what she got out of this kid.
She looks like she's freezing her butt off, too. She's, like, shivering in this rain. The acting here is so hammy. Like, they really ham up the drama. Like, it's just way more embellished than it needs to be at all. It's hardly even that dramatic, but, like, with all the rain and them shaking and being soaking wet and half their clothes on, it's just, I don't know. It's a cringy scene to me.
Yeah, no, I think you're right here. I mean, like, we're also not teens. This is not really our demographic. But yeah, like, I think this is also cringy. I think you're right there. But it doesn't matter because he's just like, you know, I'm out. See you later. I'm out. And so he goes and hangs out with this other group of friends who are just hanging out shirtless in the woods. This whole thing is, okay, if you were Bella, wouldn't you be like, why is this guy out here in the field with no shirt on? Like, he's just always walking around with no shirt on. And then his friends also have no shirt on, and they're also running around in the rain here. This seems really weird. What the hell is going on here? These are like a bunch of surfer bros in Seattle or Forks, Washington. Like what's going on? So we flash ahead here, and Bella is really upset, and I guess she's writing emails and stuff to Edward's like sister, even though I didn't like, first of all, vampires have email, which I guess they could, but it's like, why doesn't Edward have an email? He just, you know, he's like, he's too old for that kind of thing or something. And somehow he's got his sister's got an email, but I guess she's writing her email saying about, you know, how much she misses him and all this stuff. And she's out walking around the woods. I guess that's the main part of this whole thing. And all of a sudden she stumbles upon this guy, Lawrence. And if we don't remember from the first episode there, Lawrence is one of the vampires, in the first movie, who was one of the bad guys, one of the 3 bad vampires that were going around killing people. And he showed up here at Fork, Washington as a favor to Victoria. And he basically sent here to avenge the death of her boyfriend, is what it sounds like, her vampire boyfriend or vampire husband or whatever he is. And just before he can get the drop on her, so to speak, a bunch of these giant, horrible CGI wolves show up and save the day. And also, too, I want to point out, this is like 2:00 in the afternoon. So vampires in this world can just walk around in the sun and sparkle. And werewolves, apparently these alleged werewolves, can just show up in the afternoon and just morph at will. Like, these werewolves, there's no full moon. There's no rules in here that make any sense. But, you know, so she goes home after these giant mysterious wolves have saved her at 2:00 in the afternoon. And she comes running to her dad. And she's like, hey, you'll never believe it. There was this giant wolf or this bear thing, and it saved my life in the woods. I was going to get attacked by some animal, she says, because you're not going to tell him it's a vampire, obviously. A vampire, again, at like 2:00 in the afternoon with the werewolf at 2:00 in the afternoon. This whole place is normal. I want to continue to live here. That's all right. It's all good. But her dad's like, okay, like, yeah, maybe you should just go lay down. I think you maybe just too excited or whatever.
So Bella is super worried about Jacob because it seems as though he has joined this cult of shirtless men in the woods, run by this run by this guy named Sam. And we know that they're a clan of werewolves. However, if you didn't know any better, like watching this, you would think that he was like being abused or something by these old men.
I shouldn't laugh at that.
Yeah, like he just starts acting like really like disheveled and like kind of like having a lot of inner turmoil and embarrassment and shame and stuff going on. So naturally, Bella's very worried. She goes to his house and she finds him laying in bed, like kind of just sleeping. And from that, she gets really upset and she runs out and starts shoving around his family members or cult shirtless people and is like, "What did you do to him? He didn't deserve this." She ends up getting one of them so annoyed that he turns into a werewolf right in front of her. And the werewolf transformation in this movie, I was really let down. I mean, I didn't expect anything really great, but I didn't expect it to be like, you barely saw it. It's like it is a 2-second blink you'll miss it transformation.
It was like a hairball that sort of just expanded into something, a werewolf.
Yeah, it's like how Bruce Banner turns into the Hulk in the movies, only like really, really fast.
Yeah, like through the clothes shred, you just a werewolf somehow busts out of that, like out of a shirt.
So now this guy is in werewolf form, and he's about to kill Bella. However, Taylor Lautner comes running out of the house and dives into the air and turns into a wolf himself, and then he wrestles his shirtless mate. Well, he's not shirtless now, he's covered in fur because he's a wolf. But they wrestle together as wolves for a bit, then it's all good.
This is so confusing because you just saw these group of the shirtless dudes, right? She punches the shirtless guy in his face, and he just busts up into a werewolf. And he goes to attack her. And then the guy, this 16-year-old kid that you know, just turns into a werewolf too, okay? Then they have a werewolf fight in front of you. And then they run to the woods. Then there's more people in front of you that are still shirtless, that presumably you would assume are also werewolves. But then you get into a truck with them. And you go to like their surf shack, but it's not a surf shack, where these werewolves hang out and they eat muffins?
Yeah, it's like a family of werewolves. But the mother, she's not a werewolf. And she has a giant claw mark across her face because I'm assuming that being around these werewolves, they have a really high temper.
Did they say she wasn't a werewolf?
Yeah, she said, "I'm not a werewolf."
I thought you said you're not a werewolf.
Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was that she wasn't a werewolf.
I don't know. Yeah, you might be right. Maybe they just have this girl there who they scarred that they force her to make pastries every day. Like, I don't know what's going on in this world here. It's so crazy. I don't understand this.
She's just as nonchalant about it, not surprised or enthused as when she met the Cullens in the first movie, when she found out they were all a bunch of vampires. She's just like, "Okay, cool, let's have some tea." Then she decides to go for a walk on the beach with Jacob, and she confronts him about his werewolfness and is like, "You need to stop that. It's bad."
Stop being a werewolf, man.
Yeah, and he's like, "I can't choose to be that." She's like, "But you've killed people." And he's like, "No, we don't hurt people," kind of thing. And I'm thinking, like, this girl was just dating a vampire for the last year. A family of whom she watched rip the head off another vampire. So, like, why is she judging him about being a werewolf?
You're right, though. She does say, like, she says, like, "Hey, you need to stop killing people." And he's like, "We're not really killing people." And he's like, "We killed that guy because he was trying to hurt you. But he also had a girlfriend that we've been chasing away from here every night. And we don't know why she's here." And Bella puts it together and says that this is this girl, Victoria, and she's there to attack Bella and try to murder her because they think that somehow, I guess they know that Edward's not around anymore. And that's it. So basically, Jacob walks her home with a shirt on this time, which is crazy to see. Totally off brand for the rest of this movie here. And he's like, "Don't worry, we're going to watch you guys. It's all good." What happens here next is slightly confusing. I mean, like, I guess really these two things are now happening simultaneously, and they have nothing to do with each other. So probably about 25 minutes ago, when Bella was using Jacob to fix the dirt bikes up, they stopped at one part of this road here where it's a cliff that overlooks, I guess it's the ocean, or I don't know what this is. I think it's the ocean. Anyways, She sees a bunch of the shirtless surfer bro kids jumping off of the rocks there, and he's like, yeah, like kids jump off of it or whatever. So she kind of gets up now, and she's like, I know where I have to go to, I guess, get Edward to notice me or something. In her mind, this is what she seems to think is what's going on. So the sheriff is out looking for this wolf or a bear or something in the woods here. They're looking for whatever is mauling, again, more people in the woods. Like, again, yeah, I guess apparently they just think that it's just a bunch of wildlife in here that just like eats people all the time somehow. It's a bear that just sucks the blood out of this person every time. But whatever. They're looking for this mysterious animal in the woods here. And this is why this is so confusing, because Bella just gets up and she's like in the same woods that these people are walking around looking for these werewolves. And at no point do the two worlds collide. Like, you don't see these people and Bella cross at all. Like, you think that would have been interesting if she had been mistook for the werewolf or something and she got shot. That would have been crazy already. But while that's happening too, like, the werewolves are also chasing Victoria through the woods at the same time. And it looks like it's the same location. And this is why I'm confused too, because like Victoria runs and she jumps off the cliff into the water, which to me looked like the same spot. And then like 30 seconds later, Bella shows up there. And you don't see anybody else around now. And she's like, whatever, I'm going to get Edward to notice me, and YOLO, and jumps off of this rock into the water. And then, because she's an idiot, and she jumped out into like, looks like it's a storm out there. And
yeah, this doesn't look like a nice day at all. This looks like a bad day to go jump into the ocean.
Yeah, this is stormy seas right now. And she just gets pulverized by a bunch of waves. And one of the waves just comes by and just rocks her head right off of a rock. And that's it. She's like passed out right now underwater. This is not a good situation for her.
This is totally reckless behavior. So right before she's knocked unconscious, she sees Victoria swimming towards her like a frog underwater, and then she goes out, and then she wakes up a few minutes later on the shore with shirtless Jacob standing over her and giving her CPR, I guess.
Here's a question. Okay, so we saw, when he turns into a werewolf, the clothes explode off them, right? How do they always have the same pair of shorts? And then why do they, when they instantly turn back from a werewolf, they have shorts on? Why would they not be naked? Like, I don't want to see a 16-year-old naked in this movie, right? I understand that concept of that, but like, why? Right? Like the lodge. Like, do they have do clothes?
It does. Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Do shorts just explode out of them? Is that part of the fur? Is the fur shorts? And then can you take the shorts off? Are you ever able to take the shorts off? Is that what happens? Is that puberty for these kids? Like, you eventually just start growing swim trunks out of your pants. I mean, out of your legs, and you're just like, oh, he's becoming a werewolf now. That's it. It's his time. It's his trunk time.
So he drives her home, and she's like totally cuddling with him on his side, and they're getting really close. So Jacob drives Bella home in her pickup truck, and she is laying on and basically cuddling by his side. And they have kind of an intimate moment where they almost share a kiss. And Bella convinces him, she teases the idea that maybe they should just like go away together. The same thing that her and Edward were going to do, I guess, or something. So they're about to part ways, until she looks down the road or near her driveway, and she sees one of the Collins vehicles parked in her driveway.
And then she totally abandons this kid. She's just like, see you later, loser. My date's here. Have a good night. And like, the nerve of this woman. This is ungrateful.
This is mean. This is cold.
This is, like, you're just like, hey, thanks for fixing up the dirt bike and saving my life. See you later.
So it turns out that Alice is actually the person that came here. Alice Cullen. And she came because she had a vision of the future, and all the vision was Bella falling off of a cliff. So she came to see that Bella was okay. Turns out she is. Bella just jumped off a cliff herself.
Yeah, she's lucky that she used this kid to save her life, basically.
Then Jacob enters the room, and Jacob and Alice they're kind of just like mean to each other. Their conversation is interrupted by a phone call. The phone starts ringing. So Jacob answers the phone. This is Bella's house, by the way. Jacob answers the phone. It's Edward on the other end, and he asks, Is Bella okay? Jacob says she's dead. Or, well, like, I think he says something along the lines of her father's busy planning a funeral or something. So he tells Edward that she's dead. We see Edward on the other end, wherever he is, with his cell phone, and he crushes his cell phone. He's really upset. Then Alice comes barging into the room, and she's like, Edward thinks you're dead, and now he's going to go kill himself.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this is supposed to be some sort of cheap Romeo and Juliet kind of thing here, where she's just going to save him at the 11th hour, allegedly. Also, too, like, it's just weird that he just gave up on life at this point. This apparently this woman that you love, that you just abandoned, first of all. You love her so much that she's dead and you're going to go kill yourself. And all you've known at this point was that she jumped off a cliff, or she might have fallen off this cliff. I don't really think you know how she might have fallen off this cliff. When you want to know that, like, this girl just had a dream about her and she went to confirm it. So, like, you're not even like, can I talk to her for a second and get the scoop on her before I just go and off myself? Like, his just immediate reaction is, I'm sad. I'm going to go kill myself. I'm just going to give up on life. Like, what is this guy doing?
So Edward is under the impression that Bella is dead. He wants to die. So he goes to the Volkeri, this Congress of vampires that we mentioned earlier, and he asks for them to please kill him. And they deny his request. So his next plan is to just go into this festival that's going on in town, in Rome, by the way. Pretty sure that they're in Rome. He decides that he's going to expose himself to everybody in this festival, and then the Volkeri will have no other way of handling him but just to kill him. By expose himself, I mean that he's going to go into the sun and they're going to see him sparkle.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because this guy's supposed to be 18 and let's not stay away from that altogether.
So their plan is Bella and Alice go to Rome. So now we are caught up to the scene that started this movie off, where it looked like Bella was running through Westeros with amongst a bunch of handmaids. Everybody's dressed in red, but it turns out this is actually some kind of a festival where they celebrate the banishment of vampires a long time ago or something.
So this obviously would, I'm gonna guess, I don't know how long it takes to fly from Forks, Washington to Rome, Italy, but I'm gonna guess, let's say it's 10 hours, okay? Like, it was the day before that they were like, hey, P.S. Bella's dead, and he's like, I'm gonna go kill myself. Like, he waited like 12 hours to go to these guys and be like, hey, can you kill me? Or I'm going to flash a bunch of people and then you're going to kill me. Why would he just instantly have been there? Like, this is, I mean, they're vampires. Do they have hours of operation with the Volturi here? And it's like, come in, you have to make an appointment, you have to take a number, and you have to show, like, I don't get this. How does this work? Why couldn't he have just gone to them right away? And why couldn't he have just flashed somebody right then and there? Just been like, it's over. And then, hey, look, I'm a vampire. I guess it was nighttime. I don't know.
So Bella seems to have reached the town square of this festival, and across from this giant fountain in an alleyway, she sees Edward. Now we go into slow motion, and Bella is on a mad dash to stop him from taking his clothes off and stepping out into the light for everyone to see him. She is just running through this fountain, and it's all in slow motion. Every time we cut to Edward, we just see him slowly stripping off his clothes. And then just before he's about to step out, he looks like he's naked. Just before he's about to step out, Bella, like, bear hugs him, and they fall back into this dark alleyway.
There's just like one shot of Edward where it's just, he's taking his shirt off, and you just get a shot of him kind of slowly draping it off his shoulders. And it looks like you just get the top part of his abs, and it looks like he's got no pants on. To me, it almost brought up like the Buffalo Bill scene in Silence of the Lambs. If you just start playing Goodbye Horses, I think you'd have a similar feel to it. But she saves him at the last second here. She puts a shirt on him, or she gives him a hug. Sorry, and pushes him back into this vampire church or something.
After Bella successfully prevents Edward from exposing himself to the world, some of the members of the Volturi come, and they realize that Edward has been confiding in Bella that he is a vampire. So now Edward has to pay the price, and that price is death. You know, it's funny how much people in this movie have been like searching for death. And now, when finally one of them get it, Edward, who's the one who's envious of people who can commit suicide, they're like, he's suddenly like, no, I don't want to die.
The vampire society is like, okay, we're gonna kill Edward. Bella's like, no, please don't do that. This like fight sort of breaks out, and before they're about to kill Edward, she stops and she's like, look, turn me into a vampire. And so they kind of come to a compromise after a few minutes of just discussion here and non sequitur and whatever else. And he basically decides, this guy Sheldon, the vampire Sheldon here, he decides to let Bella go with the promise that eventually she becomes a vampire.
That's right. And Alice helps confirm this because she can see the future. And she shows Aro with her mind and touching him that this is actually true. And then this other, I don't know why this stands out to me, but there's this other really, all the vampires look creepy, but this guy looks extra creepy. And he's like, let us be done with this. Heidi will arrive any moment. I'm like, who is Heidi?
This is confusing to me a little bit. I don't really know what this place is, but it looks like there's like a tour or something that's coming in here to sort of like, because there's a bunch of like tourists coming through here, and this lady is like walking a bunch of people in. So that's what it looks like to me. Like these people are going to be eaten. So this is like a tour group, and there's like a little kid. There's a couple little kids here in this whole thing. So they're going to murder like 20 people here and a kid. Okay. Like that's apparently the level of people you're dealing with here, but they've just let this emo couple go because eventually they're going to turn her into a vampire, but they will mercilessly murder a bunch of people that they don't know again, and a kid.
Yeah. So now a little bit later on, Bella is sleeping at Edward's place because they're all back in the Collin house. That's not weird or anything. They just disappeared for like months or so. Now they're all back. And Bella tells Edward basically that she's excited to become a vampire because if they don't follow through with this, then they're all in big trouble. So Bella's pretty pumped. However, Edward's like, there's ways of keeping the Volkuri in the dark. We're not going to do this. And she's like, oh, what the heck? Let's take a vote. So she goes down and gathers the whole Cullen family and gets them to vote on whether or not she is allowed to turn into a vampire. And I think it's just about unanimous.
Yeah, they're like, let's make her a vampire. Let's condemn her soul to eternal damnation. That's gonna be great. It's just so exciting.
She just doesn't understand why Edward is against this. And I'm thinking, maybe like he's only known Bella for like what, a year and a half, 2 at the most. Maybe he's still not sure that he wants to spend like the next 800 years with her. I think that deserves a few years consideration. After they make that decision, Edward drives Bella home, and as they get there, they see Jacob is outside with no shirt on, waiting for them. He wants to talk to Edward, and basically Edward thanks Jacob for keeping her safe, and Bella says to Jacob that I choose Edward over you, and then Jacob leaves her with a warning that if any of them were to turn Bella into a vampire, that would break the treaty that the werewolves and vampires have.
I love how they just shoehorn that in there. That doesn't make any sense. Like, where was that part? And why do the werewolves care if the vampires kill humans? Is it just because they don't want anyone to know about monsters, but that they would just know about werewolves?
Yeah, what do they think these vampires have been doing?
Yeah. And so Edward's like, hey, I'll make you a vampire, I guess, but it's only going to happen on one condition. You have to marry me. And that is where this movie ends. And apparently that's supposed to be like a cliffhanger or something.
I feel like that was supposed to be a cliffhanger. That sets up the next movie, which I assume is going to be Bella still convincing the family to rush and turn her into a vampire. And Jacob is like just watching over her to make sure that doesn't happen. Inevitably, this is going to cause Bella is going to be in the middle of a werewolf vampire war.
How long is this vampire war going to go for? Like this seems like this is quite the buildup to this. Apparently, we're going to see what happens here in future installments of this too. But like,
this is only the second movie, and we've only seen prom and whatever this was, We're not really much farther into the story. Like, Bella and Edward weren't together at all in this movie, really, until the very end. And everything that happened, like the romance that she had with Jacob, is completely nullified by the end of the movie.
Oh, well, she didn't even have a romance with Jacob. She just used him this entire movie. This is a horrible person. Like, this is not, like, I don't see how you would admire this girl, or you'd want to be this girl, or you would think Edward is cool, or like this whole like Team Edward, Team Jacob thing. I kind of feel bad for Jacob. So I don't see why you'd be picking sides and be like, oh, I'm gonna go with this dick who's just kind of mopey and just sits here and like just didn't exist in this entire movie until like the last 20 minutes. And this girl spent the entire time crying and screaming over him. And just because he didn't get her way.
Bella doesn't seem like she cares about anything.
But other than herself, no.
Like, she doesn't, she doesn't even really care about herself either. Like, she's just throwing herself in harm's way. Like, she seems like she's just constantly attention-seeking and reckless. But then when she gets the attention, she's just like, I don't even care. I'm sad. I'm gonna go jump off a cliff.
You know, and maybe we're missing something here too with the books. I mean, like, it totally could be way off, and maybe there's more information, and maybe the characters have so much more depth, and there's so much more to it. But like, I honestly, it's crazy. Like, when these movies came out at the time, like, obviously I'd never seen these until like now watching this. But I remember working with people that were well in their late 30s, early 40s. Okay. And this one guy was like obsessed with these movies, and he was telling me how much that like the love and the romance in this movie was so good, and it was so well written, it was so deep and rich and believable, and he just fell in love with these characters. And watching this now, I'm like,
No, it's not.
on what? Yeah, on what world were you, like, what were you smoking when you thought this? How can you be this into this stuff that you're like, this is so deep and this is so amazing, and especially like in your 40s, that you're like, these fake 18 and 16-year-olds are so interesting, and it's just so thrilling that I want to be these people and I want to live vicariously through them.
Bella and Edward's relationship isn't even defined by anything. The only moments that we see them together, they're like talking about suicide and whether she wants to turn into a vampire and how much they love each other, and just a bunch of awkward staring, and like, but you don't see them do anything remotely fun or remotely enjoy their time together. And then the only time she seems happy is when she's using Jacob to go for a dirt bike ride.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. He didn't even say thanks for helping me out when I concuss myself. And it's like, I mean, you're right. So far, like, they've shared a microscope and played baseball in a storm. And then he just like left because it was like, yeah, the obvious, everyone's catching on that you guys don't age, and like, what grade are you in? And like, I even in the books, I'm really interested to see what kind of explanation they gave for all this stuff. This has got to be one hell of an explanation as to why all of this works. And like, why can't you just Jedi mind trick these guys? Because we've seen this before. I think that we've seen them kind of mind manipulate people. So why do you have to move around from town to town if you can just mind freak people?
I'm still left with like the same feeling as I was left with the first movie, where I'm wondering, like, why are all these people pining for Bella? What is it? They don't show us anything about her at all, like as far as a character or personality or anything, any reason as to why these people are falling madly in love with her.
I get that the 16-year-old kid is like kind of, smitten with her because he's like, maybe this is the first girl that's paid attention to him. I don't know. We don't really know that side of Jacob because, again, you don't really get to see this kid other than for just the times that Bella is just emotionally abusing him and manipulating him in this movie here. Like, just again, like, I don't know, maybe we're going to get some hate here. But maybe this also comes from a place of like, I don't know what's going on in the books here. So if there's more to this, I'm totally willing to hear the other side of Bella from somebody who has read the books.
Honestly, I am actually intrigued to see the one after this now, because this movie, I don't know, maybe the next one plays off of this movie in some kind of way. But for me, this felt like a poor excuse to put out a movie, because everything that happened, like, okay, so where the movie starts off and where it finishes are the exact same. The only difference is now she might be married to him. However, she just had a relationship with Jacob and that didn't work. Well, she kind of used him and whatnot. And then, Edward broke up with her and then came back. It's like we went through all these steps, but we're still just basically at the same area we left in the first movie.
Yeah, and I feel like, too, at the end of this, like, again, like I haven't, full disclosure, have not read the books, haven't read anything on the other movies either because I don't want to spoil this, but I'm just going to call this right now. I think at the end of this, she's going to end up with Edward. Okay. So why are we even doing all this? Will she end up with him? Why won't she end up with him? It's just, there's no reason for any of this. You don't learn anything about these people. You could have built a world around this. I feel like you could know more about these characters or something. And just the thinly veiled plot of they're just vampires that never age and we just move around from town to town, all this stuff. Like none of this makes any sense. And did you need, is there 5 books? Do we need 5 books for all this stuff? Like, what the hell is this? You're right. This movie, you got nothing out of this 2 hours and 10 minutes. There was nothing other than like, maybe they're probably going to get married.
I'm going to make my prediction now that by the end of this, Bella is going to be with Jacob.
Really?
I don't know like what's going to happen with, I'm assuming that there's going to be some kind of a vampire werewolf war. However, I think it's probably going to look something like some of like the Cullen family is going to end up, I'm not talking like maybe by the very last movie, the Cullen family is going to team up with the werewolves to protect Bella from all of the bad vampires at Congress there. And Edward is going to die trying to save Bella. But then Jacob's going to be like, don't worry about it, I'll look after her. Because everybody wants Bella, and that's the only way that everybody will get a little bit of a piece of her.
That's a little creepy, but right on. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, and again, I haven't read any of the books or seen these movies, but that's where I'm guessing. That's what I think is going to happen.
I feel like we could just sit here and probably nitpick this some more, like for hours here. But maybe we should just wrap it up here, and we'll just we'll head back into our coffins on this one. Unless you got anything else to add, Tim.
No, there's no pulse left in this.
You know what my review would have been for this movie if I was like a critic or something? It would have been like, blah! or like, if I was a vampire, I would have walked into the sunlight and hopefully exploded. Something like that. But we'll leave it there. So that's it for this episode. We'll just, we're going to let our Pats take you out on this one, give you his thoughts.
When I read it, it seemed like I was convinced that Stephanie was convinced she was Bella, and it wasn't. It was like it was a book that wasn't supposed to be published. I was just convinced that it's like this woman is mad. She's completely mad, and she's in love with her own fictional creation.